The space station floated quietly above the blue moon of Nirel. Inside its metal walls, engineers, scientists, and crew from 10 different species worked side by side. Among them was John Reeve, a human systems technician, quiet, focused, and not the type to make trouble. He had just finished his shift and was walking toward his room when he heard a voice behind him. "John, wait." He turned. It was Zyra, his alien coworker. Tall and graceful, her skin shimmered faintly under the hallway lights. Her hair, silvery and soft, was braided in the traditional style of her people, the Ixari. She was always calm, always in control. But tonight her eyes were different, worried, alert. "Hey," John said, surprised. "You're still on duty?" Zyra stepped closer, lowering her voice. "I need to stay at your place tonight." John blinked. "What?" "I can't explain. Not here. But I can't go back to my quarters." He laughed awkwardly. "You want to sleep at my place? You okay?" Zyra looked left and right, then leaned closer. "Please." That one word silenced him. He nodded slowly. "Okay, come with me." Inside, John's room. The lights flicked on. It was small and clean. A bed, a chair, a tiny desk, and a shelf with old Earth books. Zyra stepped in and locked the door behind her. She didn't say a word. She didn't sit. She stood near the wall, arms crossed, eyes on the hallway through the glass panel. John tried to break the silence. "You hungry? I've got protein bars. Earth flavor." "No, thank you." He sat on the bed watching her. "Zyra, what's going on? You never leave your sector. You don't even talk to people unless it's work." She finally turned to him. Her voice was low. "Someone followed me all day." "Who?" "I don't know. I saw him near the reactor wing, then again near the elevators. Then outside my door, 3 times. Same man. Black uniform. No name tag." John's stomach tightened. "Security?" She shook her head. "No badge. No ID." "You reported it?" She looked away. "They won't believe me. My people are not supposed to complain." There was silence for a moment. Then she whispered, "They're looking for me." John stood and stepped closer. "Zyra, what do you mean they?" She looked up. "I can't say everything, not yet, but there's something in me. Something my family hid." He frowned. "Like what? Are you sick?" She gave a small smile. "No. Just different." Then she walked toward the chair and finally sat down, her hands resting on her knees. "When you're born Ixari elite, you carry more than blood. You carry expectations, secrets, and danger. I thought I escaped it all, but maybe I was wrong." John sat on the edge of the bed. "And now they're coming for you?" She nodded once. "Tonight is the first time I've been truly scared," she said. John looked at her, really looked. This wasn't the proud, silent Zyra he knew from work. This was someone who had been hiding fear under layers of discipline and silence. He took a deep breath. "Well," he said, "good news is, my door's locked. Bad news is, my couch is small." She smiled just a little. "I'll take the floor." "No way. You're the guest." Her smile grew. "Humans are strange. And you're a mystery," he replied. They sat in silence, for a while. Then Zyra said something that chilled him. "If they come tonight, don't try to stop them. Just let them take me." John stared at her. "Not happening. You don't understand." "No. You don't get to ask for my help. Then tell me to back off." She looked at him surprised. He shrugged. "You're not just my coworker now. You're in my room. You're under my roof. That means I protect you." Zyra blinked. No one had said those words to her before. Outside, in the shadows of the hallway, a figure stood, silent, watching, and in his hand, a scanner blinked red. Target located. John couldn't sleep, even though Zyra was only a few steps away. sitting silently on the floor with her eyes half closed. The weight of her words kept echoing in his mind. There's something inside me. Something they want. He turned in his bed again, still awake. Then, a soft sound, a faint hum like energy pulsing from her. He sat up. Zyra's skin, normally smooth and pale lavender, was glowing faintly under the dim light. Lines of soft white light pulsed beneath, the surface of her arms, shoulders, and neck like veins of energy. "Zyra," he whispered. Her eyes opened. She looked startled, then saw her skin and quickly pulled her cloak tighter. "I didn't want you to see that." "What is it?" She hesitated, then finally said, "It's called the core line. Only the royal-blooded Ixari are born with it." "Royal? Yes." She looked away. "My real name is Zira Thenver-Kai, daughter of the last Flame Counselor. I was hidden as a commoner to protect me." John sat back, stunned. "Why didn't you tell anyone?" "Because if I'm discovered, I'm either a threat to the council or a weapon. There is no in-between." John took a deep breath, trying to process it all. "So that guy in the hallway, he wasn't just a creep?" "No," Zira said softly. "He's a retriever, a bounty hunter trained to bring in hidden royals. Dead or alive." John got up and walked to his small locker. He pulled out an old device, a scrambler field emitter. "I used this during a black site repair job. It blocks trackers for 12 hours, should still work." Zira looked up at him, surprised. "Why are you helping me?" He shrugged. "You're my guest, and maybe the only person on this station who reads in silence like I do." She smiled slightly. Then, her expression changed. "John, if they catch me, they'll scan my core line. It will activate a dormant signal, one that could lead them to something far worse." "Worse than bounty hunters?" "Yes," she whispered. "The vault." Before he could ask more, the room's lights flickered. Emergency red glow filled the corners. A soft alarm began to pulse. Unauthorized breach. Sector 3. John and Zyra looked at each other. Sector 3 was 2 halls away. "They found me," she said. He grabbed his toolkit and handed her a metal rod. "Use this if they come close. It delivers 800 volts." She stared at the weapon, then at him. "You're really going to fight?" He nodded. "We humans have a saying, 'No one threatens a guest in our house,'" Zira whispered. "Maybe your people aren't so strange after all." The hallway outside was empty, too empty. They moved fast, keeping low. John activated the scrambler. The device buzzed softly, and for a moment, everything around them seemed muted. But as they turned a corner, they froze. 3 black-suited figures stood ahead. No faces, no names, just silent hunters. They hadn't noticed John and Zyra yet. John leaned in. "There's a crawl duct behind this wall," he whispered. "If we can get in..." Zyra grabbed his arm. Her core line began glowing again, this time brighter. "I can distract them. Just get us to the shuttle bay after." "No, are you insane? It's the only way. They'll follow the light." John stared at her. "Zyra, trust me." She stepped into the open. At once, the hunters turned. One scanned her. Target confirmed. Core line active. They raised their weapons, but before they could shoot, Zyra raised her arms. The glow from her skin exploded into a blinding flash, forcing the hunters to shield their eyes. John yanked the duct panel off the wall and pulled her inside. Both of them tumbled in just as shots fired behind them. The metal sealed shut, breathless. Safe for now. Zyra looked at him, exhausted. "Now you know," she said. "I'm not normal." John looked her in the eyes. "You're not normal, you're important." The old med lab hadn't been used in years. Dust floated in the air. Flickering ceiling lights buzzed overhead. The room smelled like metal, old antiseptic, and silence. John sealed the door from inside and set his scrambler device on the counter. Again. It hummed weakly now, its charge almost gone. Zyra sat down slowly on the medical table, her body still trembling from the core line pulse she had unleashed. "You okay?" John asked, handing her water. "I will be." she said quietly. But it's getting harder to control the energy. It's waking up faster. John looked around the room. This place still has an old gene scanner. I can run a scan on your mark, maybe find out who else knows about it. Zira hesitated, then slowly nodded. The scanner hummed to life. A blue light passed over Zira's neck and chest. Her cloak fell slightly, revealing a bright white mark glowing just below her collarbone. It wasn't a scar. It was perfectly symmetrical, almost like a sun with 3 wings. The screen blinked, then beeped. Unknown genetic signature. Access level. Omega class. Restricted. Core weapon interface detected. John stepped back. What the hell is that? Zira looked at the screen, her face pale. It's worse than I thought. She pointed at the mark. This is the sigil of Viren, the weapon sealer. It means I wasn't just born royal. I was born to guard something terrible. John pulled up archived data from the console. It was slow, but after a few minutes he found an old intelligence file. Viren protocol was initiated 200 years ago. A galactic weapon, called Project Hollow Flame, was buried under the moon Nirel. Only someone bearing the sigil of Viren could open it. The sigil was passed by blood, and erased from all records. Zira's hands shook. They didn't just hide me. They made me the key. And now, John whispered, someone wants to use you to open that weapon. Suddenly, the med console beeped again. Incoming transmission. Encrypted. John tapped. It opened. A single message blinked across the screen. You cannot hide her forever. The core must open. Vizira's eyes widened. Valen. He's the High Architect of Retrieval. If he's involved. John finished her sentence. Then this is way bigger than a bounty. Footsteps echoed outside the hallway. Heavy. Rhythmic. Zira stood quickly. They've tracked us again. John pulled out 2 compact weapons from the med cabinet. He gave one to Zira. Ever used one of these? She smirked. No, but I've practiced with bigger ones. They shared a quiet laugh, just for a second. Then silence returned. The door lock blinked red. John grabbed a scalpel and cut a thin cloth strip from his own shirt. He wrapped it around Zira's glowing sigil. Why? She asked. So if they catch you, they won't see it immediately. She looked at the cloth, then at him. You care too much. He looked her in the eyes. Someone has to. A deep metal knock struck the door, and a voice followed. Calm, cold, mechanical. Zira then Verkai. Unlock the door. You are not authorized to hold the sigil. Compliance means survival. Zira held her weapon tightly. John whispered, We're not giving you up, the voice answered again. Then both of you will burn. The station's metal walls shook as boots thundered down the hallway. John ripped open the air vent hatch behind the med lab scanner. In here! Fast! Zira climbed, in first. The vent was narrow and dark, but it was their only shot. John crawled in behind her, pulling the hatch shut just as the lab door burst open with a flash of blue light. The retrieval squad had arrived. Too late. Crawling through the dark vent, John's voice was calm, but urgent. There's a sealed section, sector 12X. It's not on any public maps. It was locked decades ago. Zira replied, breath steady. I've heard of it. The place where no signal enters or escapes. Exactly, he said. If your sigil is tied to the vault, that's where it is. They reached a narrow vertical shaft. John dropped down first, landing on a dusty panel. He reached up to help her down. She slipped slightly, but he caught her. Their eyes met, briefly, but the moment passed. They ran again, this time through a forgotten hallway with vines of old power cables snaking along the ceiling. Everything felt older here, dead, but waiting. They finally stopped in front of a massive tri-door gate, black metal laced with silver veins. In the center, the same glowing sun with wings symbol etched deep into its surface. Zira stepped forward. As her hand neared the mark, her sigil began to glow beneath the cloth. Only blood may open the flame, she whispered. then placed her palm on the door, a soft pulse. Then the ground trembled. The silver veins lit up, one by one, forming a complete circuit. The air grew warm. The gate hissed, then slowly slid open with a low, echoing growl. Inside was darkness, and then light. A blue hologram blinked alive in the center of the room. It flickered, then solidified into a figure, half robotic, half feminine. Its eyes glowed softly. Identity confirmed, Zira then Verkai. Bloodline access granted. Vault initiation begins. John's mouth dropped. Zira whispered, "What is this place?" The hologram floated forward. "This is Vault Solari. Here lies the last memory of the Flame Dynasty. The weapon is sealed, but you, Sigil Bearer, are the only one who can choose to unlock or to destroy." Zira looked stunned. "Why me?" "Because you are not just a daughter of the blood, you are its final voice." John stepped beside her. "Wait. You're telling me she can command a galaxy-level weapon?" The AI nodded once. "Yes, but command is not free. One must pay in loyalty, or life." Suddenly the alarm blared again, this time from within the vault itself. The AI turned. "Warning. Unauthorized signal breach detected. External force. Bypassing flame gate," John cursed. "They followed us here?" Zira's fists clenched. "They can't be allowed inside. If they take this vault," the AI spoke calmly, "then the galaxy burns." Zira looked at John. "Then we fight." He looked at her, steady. "I'll fight beside you." She nodded and whispered something barely audible. "I'm glad I stayed at your place." They shared a quick breath of laughter before pulling, their weapons and facing the echoing halls. Footsteps approached, lights flickered. The vault's final test was about to begin. The vault's interior lights turned red. Footsteps echoed louder. John and Zira stood back to back, weapons ready, shadows dancing across the curved, flame-carved walls. The AI's voice rang out. "Final defense initiated. Test of flame will begin. One must be chosen." Zira blinked. "What does that mean?" The AI replied, "The vault will test your essence, your will, your loyalty, your pain. Only one may command the flame." John looked at her. "Is this safe?" Zira didn't answer. She stepped forward. "I accept." Suddenly the walls rippled like water. The room dissolved into light, then darkness. John was gone. Zira stood alone in a black void, then voices began to echo all around her. "You are nothing but a child in hiding. Your people forgot you. You were sold for safety, thrown away." She clenched her fists. "I survived." Flames sparked at her feet. The AI's voice returned. "What do you fight for?" She answered without hesitation. "For the right to choose my path." Meanwhile, in the physical vault, John stood frozen. The AI turned to him. "And you? You are not of the flame. Why do you fight?" John looked at the locked door ahead, blasters nearly melting it open. "I fight because she chose to stay at my place. And that meant something." The AI pulsed with light. "Your loyalty has been logged." Back inside the test, Zira's glowing mark burst into a ring of living fire around her chest. She fell to her knees as searing images flooded her mind. Her mother handing her to off-world traitors, her real name being erased, her sleeping alone in cold bunkers while bounty hunters closed in. Then John's voice cut through. "You matter." Tears slipped from her eyes, and suddenly, she stood. The fire didn't burn her anymore. It wrapped around her, chose her. A flame crown of soft gold light shimmered over her head. Back in the real world, the vault shook violently. The hunters breached the outer gate. John raised his weapon, ready to fight. But before the first shot fired, Zira walked out of the flame chamber, glowing like a goddess of war and light. Hair floating with ember strands, eyes golden, a trail of fire behind her steps. The hunters froze. Their leader whispered, "Impossible." Zyra raised her hand. The fire pulsed once, and disarmed all of them at once. Weapons melted. Boots fused to the floor. "You hunted a girl," she said, her voice now layered with power. "But the vault has made its choice. I am flame-bound." The AI declared, "Command granted. Zyra then Verkai, you are now flame sovereign." The hunters knelt, not out of respect but fear. Zyra turned to John, her glow softening. "You stayed, even when I didn't tell you everything." He smiled. "You asked for a place to stay. I didn't think I'd be signing up to guard a walking sun." She laughed. Then the vault door sealed behind them forever. The weapon was no longer locked. It had simply found its rightful wielder. The escape shuttle tore through the upper layers of Narel's sky, leaving a golden flame trail behind it. Inside the cockpit, John gripped the controls tight. His knuckles were white, his focus unbreakable. The station alarms had triggered a system-wide lockdown, but they'd made it out, just barely. Behind him, Zyra sat still, glowing faintly. Her new flame mark hovered over her palm like a tiny, silent sun. She hadn't spoken in 10 minutes. Neither had John. Finally, she broke the silence. "They'll come for us now. Not just bounty hunters, entire fleets." John nodded. "I figured." A blinking light on the control panel signaled a message. Uncoded. "Open channel." John tapped it. A voice, rich and commanding, came through. "Flame-bearer Zirathan. This is Grand Regent Malik of the Ashen Orbit. Surrender peacefully. We offer alliance. Protection." Zira's eyes narrowed. "Protection always has a price." Another message interrupted the first. "Ignore the Regent," said a second voice. "This is Admiral Huron of the Eastern Rings. We only want the vault, not you. Give us access and we'll let your human live." John muttered, "Wow, galactic diplomacy is fast and rude." Zyra turned to him. "They're afraid." "Of you?" She nodded. "No, of what the flame inside me might choose to do." Suddenly, another alert lit up. Enemy lock detected. A fleet had arrived in orbit, 3 warships, no warning. John's hands flew over the controls. "They're jamming escape paths. They want to box us in." Zyra stood behind him, her body glowing brighter with each passing second. Her voice changed, calm, powerful. "Then we don't run." John blinked. "We don't?" She stepped beside the weapons console, placed her hand on it. The metal shimmered, then melded with her energy. Flame symbols spread across the dashboard. "Manual fire override engaged," the system said. Zyra looked at John. "Just fly. I'll handle the rest." Outside, the first enemy cruiser fired a plasma burst, but it never landed. It disintegrated mid-space, cut clean by a vertical blade of golden fire, launched from Zyra's pulse. John gaped. "You turned my cargo shuttle into a battlecruiser." Zyra smirked. "You gave me the seat, I made it a throne." Back in orbit, the enemy ships hesitated. Transmissions flooded in. "Unknown weapon signature detected. Full fleet, retreat." "She's channeling the core flame." But it was too late. Zyra raised her hand again, and this time the stars themselves seemed to blink. A wave of heat swept out, not burning, but warning. The message was clear. The flame had returned, and it had chosen a new sovereign. As silence returned, John exhaled deeply. "So, Flame Sovereign," he said, half joking, "what's the plan now?" Zyra looked out at the glowing remains of the battle and whispered, "We don't hide anymore. We gather those who still believe. We start something new." John grinned. "Then I guess I'm your first knight." She looked at him and softly replied, "No, John. You were always more than that." The flame ship hovered above the lost moon of Telerin, a dead world once rich in kingdoms and culture, now reduced to ash and silence. But today, it wasn't silent anymore. Hundreds of ships circled it. From the Ashen Orbit, the Eastern Rings, the Cradle Colonies. Leaders came, soldiers, survivors. They came not to fight, but to witness. Inside the temple ruins, now turned throne chamber by the flame's rebirth, Zira stood in full regalia, robes of firelight, her sigil glowing proudly. No longer hidden, no longer hunted. She faced the gathering and spoke. I was cast away, forgotten. You called me worthless, powerless, and yet it was your own fear that shaped me into what I am now. Her voice echoed across the chamber and through all connected ships. The vault chose me, not because of blood, but because I chose to protect. I chose to fight beside a man who never saw me as a weapon. She turned. John stood behind her, quiet, still in his old tech uniform, no crown, no sigil, just him. She extended her hand. John Reeve, the one who gave me shelter when I was no one, the one who walked through fire, not to save a queen, but to protect a friend. Gasps echoed across comms. I offer him not a role, but a choice, not to serve me, but to stand beside me, as co-sovereign. John froze. Every eye was now on him. He never wanted power, never imagined his name being broadcast across galaxies. He just wanted to do the right thing, but now, he stepped forward and held her hand. I'm not a ruler, but I am someone who won't let you face this alone. Zira smiled. Her flame danced softly, warm, not fierce. She whispered, so only he could hear. Then let's rebuild the galaxy, together. From orbit, thousands of ships blinked their lights in silent salute. A new era began that day, not of war, not of conquest, but of flame and trust. In a garden floating above the restored planet, two children laughed, one with glowing fingertips, one with greasy, tech-stained hands. Zira and John sat nearby watching. She leaned on his shoulder. He passed her a protein bar. She raised an eyebrow. Earth flavor, he grinned. Still your favorite. She nodded. Still strange.